There is going to be something that happened, an event that will change your life. And he said, you will be surprised. Well, I guess Wolfowitz wasn't surprised because he was meeting with the funders of the hijackers prior to 9/11 while he was in Washington, D.C. In Washington, D.C. Redacted. Redacted. See, here it is. Look, arrived in Washington. Redacted. State Department. Redacted. National Security Council. Redacted. 5th of September, 6 days before the attacks. 6th of September, National Security Council. 7th of December, Department of Defense. CENTCOM on September 10th. He's meeting with CENTCOM, an admitted arm of the shadow government, folks. Tommy Franks he's meeting with. He's meeting with Tommy Franks of CENTCOM. And what's all this? Redacted city. Redacted. Redacted. And a little bit more on the redacted side right there. So plenty of this is redacted, will remain classified according to Bob Graham, who I'm no huge fan of, but I'm glad he told at least part of the truth for the next 20 to 30 years. Picking up where we left off, we're about to get into the 9/11 Commission cover-up. Hit the clip.
Out the attacks alone. Yet 2 wars and 7 years later, he's still on the loose. The bipartisan commission was full of insiders who whitewashed the events of that day to the point it was comical.
5 years after the horrors of 9/11, there's a new way to look at those unforgettable images. Through color, caricature, and captions, comic book veterans Ernie Colon and Sid Jacobson have brought to life the 9/11 Commission Report. It took a year and a half to distill 600 pages down to less than 150.
When you hear about the idea of the 9/11 Commission Report as essentially a comic book, your first reaction is, what are you, crazy?
It's accurate. I mean, the graphic version is accurate. That's what happened.
Thomas Keane was the co-chair of the commission with Lee Hamilton. They would write a book together called Without Precedent. In it, he would claim that NORAD and the Pentagon did not tell the truth and that indictments were considered. If the report itself wasn't accurate, how could the comic book be? Thomas Keane is now traveling the country in order to instruct teachers on how to teach 9/11 to their young, impressionable minds. The 9/11 Commission was such a cover-up that Max Cleland, an appointed member, went off on Wolf Blitzer.
A deal announced yesterday between the White House and the Commission investigating the September 11th attacks is proving to be rather controversial. Under the agreement, only certain members of the Commission will be allowed to review classified documents from the White House, and their notes will be subject to administration review. Today, some relatives of people who were killed in the attacks criticized the agreement. And our next guest, who's a member of the commission, claimed the deal is disgusting. Former Georgia Senator Max Cleland, a Democrat, joins me here.
Well, you've used the word deal 3 times. I don't think the 9/11 Commission ought to be making deals with our own government under the responsibility we have from the Congress and our responsibility to the American people to get all the facts about all the commissioners. Look at those facts. Now, we've had to subpoena the FAA for those documents. We've had to subpoena NORAD for those documents. I'm in favor of subpoenaing the White House for the documents we need so that all the commissioners can get to see all the documents that we need. That's the only way we can face the American people and the families and say we have done a thorough investigation independently of the White House and the entire executive branch. The President has said only a minority of the Commission can see a minority of the documents, and then they have to clear what they're going to say to the rest of the Commission with the White House.
If you're one of those 4 that gets to see these documents, would that change your opinion?
No. They don't want any more eyeballs to see their documents than they can possibly get away with. It's a scam. It's absolutely disgusting.
Cleland would later resign.
Well, they have something to cover up, and the 9/11 Commission, of course, was a master cover-up. We know that. The question is what it was covering up.
I don't believe the reports on September 11th put out by the 9/11 Commission or by Congress. I've seen one put out by the 9/11 Commission, and it was basically hundreds of pages of nothing. It was very generic. It was very indirect, indistinct, devoid of facts, devoid of hard positions. It was things like mistakes were made. We need to improve human intelligence. This is nothing. I mean, it's like yes, I stand for truth, justice, and the American way. But it was vapid, it was a waste of time and money, but gives the impression that, oh yes, the government is doing something, the government is studying the issue.
Well, what makes me really disappointed, and that's an understatement, is that Congress's role is oversight. And Congress, even today, you'll see members of Congress saying, well, we haven't implemented everything that the 911 Commission recommended. And the 911 commissioners have said that the administration obstructed them, lied to them.
The staff statements were described by various commissioners to be an indictment of the FBI in particular, but also an indictment of the CIA.
I don't think the chairman and I have ever characterized the staff statements as an indictment. It's possible others have done that. We have not. And Tom and I have heard repeated praises from people in your business, in the media business, thanking us for the quality of those statements.
I would second that, and by the way, I never, ever would correct the vice chairman, but I'm afraid I did characterize one of those statements as an indictment.
I really just wanted to play it up to the point where Thomas Keene and Lee Hamilton think it's hilarious that they could have indicted the FBI and the CIA and, you know, maybe NORAD and the FAA, and we didn't tell the truth. Apparently that's funny. I don't find it very funny. You know, they don't want to talk about General Mahmoud Ahmed and the wire transfer. They don't want to talk about the drills on 9/11. They don't want to talk about the inside hijackings. They don't want to talk about the evidence.